What's up, guys? We're so glad you're tuning in tonight. We're about to kick off a brand new series, and we want you to stay tuned for the next couple of weeks because we're going to do things a little different, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to be involved. So make sure you stay involved, and we're going to get you guys to participate as well. And in week 5, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. So tonight, we're going to kick off a brand new series called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
So, do you ever feel like you live like in two different worlds? And what I mean by that is this: we have different worlds all the time. Like we have our sport life, we have our gaming life, we have our house life, we have who we are when we're in front of other people. We're honest, we kind of live in different worlds. And also, if we're honest, like who we are at home is a little bit weirder than who we are around other people.
Oh, definitely. I know when I'm at home, I'm really OCD sometimes, and so I'll just like reorganize random things like the fridge or the pantry or even the dishwasher, and Carly she'll get so mad at me because she'll put up all the groceries or something, and I'll come back and like be organizing it.
I'm a little concerned is how do you determine what's supposed to be organized in a refrigerator?
I don't know, it's just gotta look good, it's gotta be neat, like similar things together, like all of our drinks are on the top shelf. I put the stuff that's about to expire in the front, so you use that before the stuff that like is gonna last longer.
I mean, basically
it helps my mind.
It helps your mind. Yeah. I think what we determined from this is we need to pray for Carly.
Yes, definitely.
Because I don't know. I mean, old stuff. That's weird. But the truth is, don't judge Braden and don't judge me because if we're completely honest, we're all a little different at home than we are around other people. Mm-hmm. For instance, I'll prove it to you. You would never leave your nasty sock on a friend's steps, right?
No.
But if you do it at your house, you don't think anything about it. Like your room is disgusting, but you never just throw like your underwear just on the floor at a friend's house. Like you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and you're never gonna talk to a coach like it was your stepmom that you don't like, or you're not gonna yell at your teammate like it's your brother when he makes you mad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we could all admit, too, like, we kind of sometimes explode on the people around us in our house a lot faster than we would explode on someone who's outside of our house. And why is this? Why is this possible? Why is this the way it is? And I think it comes down to one little thing. We're going to kind of kick off this series, and it's going to set us up for the next couple of weeks as well. And it's this thing called me, right? We kind of zoom everything in our lives around the situation of me. And what I mean by that is this. It's kind of my world and everybody else is just living in it, right? For instance, when I go to the dinner table, I automatically ask the question, what's for dinner? And I'm thinking it better be something that I like.
Yeah, and like when you have to go to something that your sibling's doing, like when I was growing up, I used to have to go to my sister's cheer competitions. It was like the worst thing, but I was just thinking like I could be doing so many other things. But it was just about me, like what do I want to do? Like I don't want to be there.
Yeah, poor sister didn't get supported. But at the same time, like, that wouldn't be the case at other places, right? For instance, like, I would never walk into a friend's house and, like, at the dinner table go, you made lasagna? Like, why would you make lasagna? Like, why would you do that? Lasagna is terrible, right? You would never do that. And if you do that, please don't do that. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
But we would never do that at a friend's house, but we do it at our house all the time.
And definitely, you're not going to go up to your coach and be like, hey, coach, I can't make it to practice or to the game this week because I got something else going on or I could be doing something better. Or
Yeah.
you shouldn't do that.
You should not
be
do that.
sitting
No
in bed.
PT for you, bud. But listen, we kind of do this. This whole effect, this like me effect, we could call it, of how does this affect me? It really kind of changes a lot of stuff. For instance, like the same way, if like your family who loves hamburgers all are like eating hamburgers, you sit there the whole time going, I hate hamburgers. And what you do in your mind is you make it up to look and say, hey, I'm not going to let everybody else be happy about their hamburger. I'm going to make sure mom and everybody else knows that I am miserable because I don't like hamburgers, because we're evaluating it under the lens of how does this affect me?
Yeah, or you think about we all have that one friend that doesn't have to study. They always make the A, and like they scroll through TikTok all night when you're like up all night studying, and you go in and flunk the test, and obviously they still make 100. So you like get on them, like you're mad at them because like you didn't do good enough, but because it's about you, and like they didn't deserve it. You should have got it.
Yeah. I mean, we can't be happy for them. Exactly. So this how it affects me is a big deal, because here's the truth. You're viewing everything in this lens of how does this affect me? And then the other people around you, your friends and your family, are also viewing this. How does this affect them? And then you respond to that, and then they respond to that. And it's this ongoing ugly cycle. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do when we don't know what to do in relationships, when there's tension, when things come up and we look and go, how do I do this? What am I supposed to do? And I think this is a really cool thing. We can look at the Bible today, and if we're honest, this whole idea of what to do when you don't know what to do, it's not unique to you. This is something that's been around for thousands of years. And I love the Bible, how it gives us a real look at real people with real events in their life and with real problems. And we're going to look at that over the next couple weeks, and we're going to view this guy named Joseph. And Joseph is one of my favorite characters in the Bible. He's one of the most famous people in the Bible. And I love Joseph because he's really just a guy like us, right? He found himself in all kinds of situations where he does not know what to do. And at the same time, Joseph's story is wild, right? I mean, it would be like the best show on Netflix. Yes. Forget Outer Banks, even though Outer Banks is pretty cool. Like, it would be greater than that. You have murder plots. You have like sold into slavery. You have unfairly put in jail. You have story twists all the time. And this guy named Joseph. But one of the places it all starts is with his family and the people around him. In Genesis 37, we're going to kind of see this story played out. And we're going to read about Jacob, who is father, who kind of treats him a little differently than everybody else. And he gives him like this kind of cloak, this kind of coat of many colors or whatever. And it's basically to show that he's the favorite. It's kind of like this coat would be like a way of saying, hey, like the new Jordan 1s. And he gave it to this one sibling. And in Genesis 37, in verses 6 and 7, here's what it says.
Yeah, this is what happened. Joseph also had these dreams too. This is why his brothers didn't like him. But Joseph said to his brothers, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." Now this wasn't just a dream that didn't matter, like you have a dream and you forget it the next day. But this was like a big deal, and his brothers knew it. Joseph was saying through this by telling his brothers that one day I'm going to have power over you. Like, you're going to bow down to me one day, and I'm going to be over you. And I don't know about you, if you have a little sibling, but if my little sister came up to me and said that, I'm not going to be happy. Like, I'm not taking that. And his brothers were not happy. And this is what they said. They said, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he said.
Yeah, so if you really think about it, this vibe was kind of harsh, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his brothers were over the robe, his brother was over the dreams, all kinds of stuff. There was a lot of tension going on. And it even gets kind of a little bit like kind of that tension gets worse because Joseph has another dream. And this one concerns the sun and the moon and the stars. And it kind of like to kind of decipher that, basically Joseph has a dream and he goes to his parents and say, hey, listen, I'm going to have a dream where not only my brothers are going to bow down to me, but also you're going to bow down to me. Now, even more, think about that tension. Like, I don't know if that's the best move to like have these dreams and go around telling everybody that you're going to rule over them. You can imagine the tension here, right? So you think about it, Joseph was viewing everything in his life under the lens of how does this affect me? And Joseph's family was doing the same way. All of Joseph's brothers could see was this whole situation of how they were affected. how this unfairness of their father's love, how that one son had this coat of many colors. I mean, if you think about that, to put that in another example for you guys, it would be like one sibling getting a brand new car and the other siblings like rolling around in mom's minivan.
Bro, that was me.
That was
I
you?
got the beater.
Got the beater, right?
Yes.
I mean, you would be like, this is unfair. Like, I need justice, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things. So here's a couple of things. What could the family have done differently in this situation? And the first is this. Joseph could have started to see himself as part of the problem, as one person of the family, and not the center of it.
Oh, yeah. And definitely the dad could have recognized, Jacob could have said, I'm showing favoritism to this son, and it's probably going to make my other ones mad.
Yeah, and I think the brothers could have chilled out a little bit with their grudges and the gossip and all the hatred they had towards their brother.
Yeah, and definitely everyone in the situation could have just, not let their insecurities control, all their reactions.
Yeah. So how does this story impact you and I? And I think it impacts you and I because it shows us that we have a role to play in our family. We all play a role in our relationships with the people around us. And here's the deal. If we evaluate the words and the actions that we're taking with the people around us, if they're making things better or worse, you can look at the temperature of the relationship. Are you improving it, or are things causing more tense because you're around? It's kind of like math, if you think about it, when you learn that common denominator, right? One of the things we can always look, if everything around you is tense, you might need to look at yourself. And that's something that's really hard to evaluate sometimes. So what do you do? How do we do that? What if you're not sure how to make an improvement at this? And I think the book of Philippians tells us something really, really important about this.
Yeah, Paul writes and he says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. In your relationship with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, and even death at a cross.
Yeah, so Paul says to look, right? That Jesus sets the example here. He gave up the privileges of being God, who deserved to be treated like God, but didn't require that out of the people.
Yeah, and so the big question we have is, how do we do that when we don't know what to do in our relationships? Well, first, we can start by paying attention to how we see ourselves. You ask the question, instead of asking, how does it affect me, start wondering, what does it look like to treat others in your family, treat your friends in your relationships, treat them as equal as you or even as more valuable than you, just like Jesus did.
Yeah, I think you have to look and say, how do we treat other people around us? I think another great point kind of feeding off of that is we have to invite someone else to speak into our lives. We have to invite someone else to speak into how we're treating other people. Because probably one of the hardest things for me to do is to truly be honest with myself and how I'm affecting the people around us. Because a lot of times I won't see it. A lot of times it's really easy to look at others, like the tenseful situation, and go, man, that's the problem for everybody else. Everybody else is doing this to me. If they just wouldn't do that, then this wouldn't be tense. But we need someone older and wiser to kind of speak into our life to say, hey, listen, you may have more of that problem, you may be more a part of the problem than you think you are. And that's one of the reasons we do small groups. We do small groups because every single person needs relationships. Yeah. But we also do it because you have a small group leader in your life who's someone who's wiser and older to be able to help you and be truthful with you and say, hey, listen, you may have a problem. You could have spoke differently here. You could have dissolved that situation instead of pouring gas on it. So listen, one of the things you important to do is to rely on your small groups. Be a part of your small group. Know that your small group leader cares about you. Know that they want the best for you. And sometimes that means telling you things that you don't always want to hear. But it's so important to have someone in our life that's going to help us. But I want you to imagine this. What if all of our relationships could look like this? What if instead of asking the me question, the me effect, where everything's about us, what if we started to see ourselves or see others instead of ourselves? What would your family look like if every person, instead of viewing everything under the lens of myself and how does this impact me, what if they started looking, how does this impact the people around us? How does this impact my parents? How does this impact my siblings? What level of tension or peace would exist is if everybody stopped looking out for only themselves and you could be part of the solution and part of the reason that happens.
So thank you guys so much for joining in with us as we start out this new series. We're going to keep doing this, and we're going to do it in some different new cool ways, so we hope you'll be back here for that. You do not want to miss it. But next week we're going to look at what do you do when you don't know what to do, when you feel alone, and when you feel like God's not even there. So we're going to talk about that, and be sure to be here for that. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, peace out, guys. See you later.